Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the FIBA Secretary General, FIBA Central Board members, national federations delegates, and all other guests, of course. It is a great honor to welcome you here to the FIBA headquarters, to the Patrick Baumann's House of Basketball, situated on the shores of Lake Geneva in Switzerland. Today, FIBA is hosting the draw ceremonies for FIBA Olympic qualifying tournaments for both women and men. 8 tournaments will take place altogether next year to determine the last teams for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. The FIBA qualifying tournaments are important events on the international basketball calendar as they establish the path to the Olympic Games. So these qualifying tournaments will join 16 women's and 24 men's teams from across the world, all hoping to accomplish their Olympic dreams and maybe even have that gold medal placed over their heads in August 2020. So 12 teams in men's competition, 12 teams in women's will take the stage in Tokyo next year. In today's ceremony, we will have 2 draws. The first one for FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournaments, and the second draw to take place will be for the 4 FIBA Men's Olympic qualifying tournaments. But before we begin the draw procedure, I would kindly ask us to join on the stage the FIBA Secretary General, Mr. Andreas Zaklis, for an opening word, and please help me in welcoming him to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Patrick Baumann House of Basketball. Allow me to welcome also our fans around the world that join us in this ceremony through FIBA's digital channels and the live stream. With these Olympic qualifying tournaments, we're coming one step closer to Tokyo 2020 Olympics. It is for the first time that we will see 40 national teams, of course from all around the world, playing for their spot in the Olympic Games. And it is true that the preparation has already started, and I'm very glad to see here in the audience no less than 20 national member federations of FIBA represented here in the draw. Well, these Olympic qualifying tournaments are always very exciting because, for a simple reason, they offer a unique final opportunity for our players and for our coaches to participate in the Olympics. All the participants in today's draw ceremony have earned their spot based on their performance on the field of play, based on how they performed. And now they have to give it all for the ticket to Tokyo. For women, these tournaments are at the heart of the new competition system that FIBA put in place in order to allow our national teams to have frequent exposure in front of their audiences and around the world as they need it so much. For men, regardless of the results of the draw today, we're very confident we will have 4 extremely strong tournaments where one takes it all. And also very confident we will see a level of basketball comparable to what we saw in China a few months ago at the FIBA Basketball World Cup. Allow me at this moment to thank our tournament hosts, Belgium, China, France, and Serbia for women, as well as Canada, Croatia, Lithuania, and Serbia for men. We wish best of luck to all the participants, and I really look forward to welcoming you all in these 8 fabulous celebrations of basketball around the world in February and June 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zaklis. As the FIBA Secretary General has already emphasized, the new system for women's qualifiers beginning this month will have a shot for the 16 teams to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So, ladies and gentlemen, here are the 16 teams to compete at 4 FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournaments. Let's see them. From Africa, we will have Mozambique and Nigeria. from the Americas, Brazil, Canada, Puerto Rico, and the United States of America. From Asia-Oceania region, we will have Australia, China, Japan, and Korea. And from Europe, Belgium, France, Great Britain, Serbia, Spain, and Sweden. Now these 16 teams will be split into 4 groups of 4, with 3 best teams from each group advancing to the Tokyo Basketball Tournament for women. And the hosts, as already mentioned before, will be Belgrade, Serbia, Bourges, France, Foshan, China, and Ostende, Belgium. And let's take a look of these teams in action.
Pulls up, Rosado! Through to left wide open, good! Not in my house! Oh, how about that? You are kidding me! Indoor open, good!
This is a one-woman show.
Puts up another one, you are kidding me!
Jump shot is good for 2.
Off the glass.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, a three-pointer!
Nice little move.
She is on fire.
She is.
Oh, the spin cycle again from Xiaoting.
Just feeling it.
So before we have this draw started, there is one thing we have to do because we can't have the draw without FIBA Sports and Competitions Director, Mr. Predrag Bogosavljev. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Good afternoon.
So of course there is a technical part in every draw, and in order for everyone to understand what is going on, let's take a quick look at the draw procedure.
16 teams have qualified to participate in the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournaments in February 2020. The 16 teams have been divided into 4 pots of 4 teams each, based on the FIBA Women's World Ranking presented by Nike. The aim of the draw is to have 4 groups of similar quality, with teams from the same regions equally distributed across the groups. All teams will be drawn and placed into one of the 4 assigned host cities. 4 additional pots, each containing the numbers 1 to 4, will determine the position of each team within their group and the order of games. Since all teams from the host countries are in pot 2, we will start by placing them in their respective groups. After a team is drawn into a group, its position will also be drawn, defining the order of games. To balance geographical principles, Spain cannot be drawn in the group hosted by another European country. And Australia cannot be drawn in the group hosted by another country from Asia-Oceania, in this case China. The remaining teams from pot 1 will be drawn with a straight draw. Pot 2 is already done, so we can move to pot 3. According to the regulations, Japan cannot be drawn in the group with the USA. Also, in order to balance geographical principles, Japan cannot be drawn in the groups with Australia or China. And Brazil cannot be drawn in the group with the USA and Canada. The respective competition numbers will be drawn at the same time. Finally, in pot 4, in order to make sure that all regions are represented at the Olympic Games, Mozambique has to be drawn in the same group with Nigeria. Also, in order to balance geographical principles, Sweden can't be drawn with 2 European teams. A straight draw will be used for Korea and Puerto Rico. The draw for the FIBA Women's Olympic Qualifying Tournaments 2020 is completed when all teams are drawn in each group with their group number assigned.
hand to help with the draw to Mr. Bogosalio, because obviously he can't do anything by himself, is the two-time silver Olympic medalist from Croatia, Mr. Stojko Vrankovic. Mr. Vrankovic is also the president of Croatian Basketball Federation, and of course with plenty Olympic experiences, silver medal from Seoul, silver medal from Barcelona for those of us who have never made it to the Olympics and most probably never will. What would you say about your Olympic experiences?
It really was a long time ago, but what I remember that Olympic Games gave you a chance to represent your country on the highest level. Then you can play against the best basketball players on the world, and beside that you can have a chance to meet some other sports athletes from the different sports, different country, different culture, and on the end when you bring the medal back home, that means something and make you very proud.
Thank you, Mr. Vrankovic. We are very honored to have you with us here today. This will be your spot. And I would also like to invite the Swiss national team player, Ms. Virginie Bruchet, to help us with the draw on the other side. So now I think we have everything covered for the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournament draw to begin.
Yes, I think we are ready to start. But before we start, I would just like to give a additional explanation. Although the video we just seen provides pretty well the information on how the draw will be conducted, but practically today during the draw, while we are trying to allocate the teams from the same pot to 4 different hosts, we will always try to respect the geographical principles. Namely, we would like to spread the teams from the same region evenly across all the groups. When doing that, we of course will have certain limitations. So in order to process the limitations, we have a small help of technology. So we have a software which will calculate possibilities for each team. And what you will see on the screen when the teams are drawn, you will see available groups for this team, according to the calculation what is possible. As a principle, we will always allocate the team to the first available group according to the alphabetical order of the host cities. So you will see how that works when we start, but this is how the draw, both women and men draw, will be conducted. So we are ready to start, and we are first putting the teams from the host countries in the respective groups. As in case of women's qualifiers, all the hosts are in the pot 2. We'll start with the pot 2. Please take it.
France.
France will play in Bourges.
France were second at this year's Women's Eurobasket. They finished 4th at the 2016 Olympics.
And the competition number for France?
Number 1.
France with the number 1. Second team?
Serbia.
Serbia will play in Belgrade.
Serbia won the bronze medal at the Rio Olympics and came in 3rd at FIBA Women's Eurobasket this summer.
And the number for Serbia?
Number 3.
Serbia with the number 3. Third host country?
China.
China playing in Foshan.
China were quarterfinalists at last year's FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup and second at the recent Women's Asia Cup.
And the number for China is?
Number 2.
Number 2. And the last host?
Do I need to open this one?
Yeah.
Belgium.
As expected, Belgium. Belgium will play in Ostende.
Belgium, newcomers at FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup, finished fourth. They were fifth at the FIBA Women's Eurobasket this year.
And the competition number is
Number 4.
number 4 for Belgium. Now we will continue the draw with the pot 1.
United States of America.
The first team from the pot 1, USA. As you can see on the screen, there are 3 possibilities. We are always choosing the first available according to the alphabetic order, which is in this case, Belgrade. So USA is playing in Belgrade.
The USA claimed their third straight FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup title last year and have won the last 6 Olympic Games. They also have just won the recent FIBA Women's America Cup.
Number 2.
Number for USA is number 2. Next team from the pot 1.
Spain.
Spain. Spain will play in Foshan. This is the only option because other 3 groups already have top European teams. So to avoid having Spain with other top European teams in the same group, they have to go to Foshan.
Spain were silver medalists at the 2016 Olympic Games and this year won their third FIBA Women's Eurobasket.
Number 4.
Number 4 for Spain. Next team from the pot 1.
Australia.
Australia. Australia will play in Bourges.
Australia made it to the final of last year's FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup. The Opals were fifth in the Rio Olympic Games.
Number 4.
Competition number for Australia is number 4. And the last team from the pot 1.
Canada.
Canada obviously goes to Ostende.
Canada were quarterfinalists at the Rio Olympics and finished second at the recent FIBA Women's America Cup.
Competition number?
Number 1.
Number 1 for Canada. Now we will move to the pot 3 and continue the draw. First team from the pot 3.
Nigeria.
Nigeria. 3 options for Nigeria. Nigeria will go to Belgrade as the first available one.
Nigeria were quarterfinalists at last year's FIBA Basketball Women's World Cup. They also won a second straight FIBA Women's Afrobasket this summer.
Number 1.
Number 1 for Nigeria. Second team from the pot 3.
Brazil.
Brazil. Brazil will go to Bourges.
Brazil played at the Rio Olympics and were third at the recent FIBA Women's America Cup.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Brazil. Next team from the pot 3.
Great Britain.
Great Britain will play in Foshan.
Great Britain were fourth at this summer's FIBA Women's Eurobasket. They are trying to claim a first Olympic berth since London 2012.
Number 3.
With number 3. And the last team from the pot 3.
Japan.
Japan, obviously going to Ostende. Japan made it to the quarterfinals of the Rio Olympics. They recently won their fourth straight FIBA Women's Asia Cup.
With the competition number?
Number 2.
Number 2 for Japan. And the last pot, pot 4, the first team from the pot 4.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico will play in Bourges.
Puerto Rico finished fourth at the recent FIBA Women's America, but they have never played at an Olympic Games.
Number 2.
With the number 2. Next team.
Sweden.
Sweden will play in Ostende.
Sweden had their best FIBA Women's Eurobasket finish of 6th place this summer. They are hoping to qualify for an Olympics for the first time ever.
Number 3.
With the number 3. 2 more teams to go.
Mozambique.
Mozambique. Mozambique goes to the group with Nigeria. That means Mozambique will play in Belgrade.
Mozambique played at the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournament in 2012. They were fourth at this summer's FIBA Women's Afrobasket and have never played at an Olympic Games.
Number 4.
Number 4 for Mozambique. And the last team for women's draw.
Korea.
Korea. Korea will play in Foshan.
Korea were fourth at the recent FIBA Women's Asia Cup. They have not played at the Olympic Games since 2008.
Number 1.
With number 1, which concludes our women's draw. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brankovic. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Virginie. Mr. Bogoslavljev, we will see you later on. So that means that the draw for the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournaments is complete, and we have the 4 groups for tournaments. Let's take a look at them. In Belgrade, we have Nigeria, USA, Serbia, and Mozambique. In Bourges, the next teams will be playing France, Puerto Rico, Brazil, and Australia. In Foshan, China, Korea, China, Great Britain, and Spain, and finally in Ostende, Belgium, Canada, Japan, Sweden, and Belgium. And we really look forward to these tournaments tipping on February the 6th, of course, 2020. And now it's time to turn our attention to the men. The road to Tokyo started earlier this year at FIBA Basketball World Cup, where we have 8 teams qualified directly for the Olympic Games. These are Argentina, Australia, France, Iran, Nigeria, Spain, and the United States of America. And Japan is also automatically qualified as the host of the event, which means at the FIBA Olympic qualifying tournaments, we will have 16 best non-qualified teams from the FIBA Basketball World Cup and 2 best countries from each region according to FIBA World Ranking. So the 24 teams that will do battle for the Olympic Games are: from Africa, we have Angola, Senegal, and Tunisia. From the Americas, Brazil, Canada, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Uruguay, and Venezuela. From Asia and Oceania, we have China, Korea, and New Zealand. And finally, from Europe, Croatia, Czech Republic, Germany, Greece, Italy, Lithuania, Poland, Russia, Serbia, Slovenia, and Turkey. So the 4 remaining spots at Tokyo 2020 with men's basketball tournament are reserved for the winners of the 4 tournaments hosted by Belgrade, Serbia, Split, Croatia, Kaunas, Lithuania, and Victoria, Canada. And let's take a look of some of these teams in action.
Doncic explodes up the court. In the paint from Leandro Barbosa. And knocks it down on the buzzer. Puts up the finger off the glove.
His timing is impeccable.
Huertas again for three! What a shot!
Yeah, Corey Webster, ladies and gentlemen.
Incredible quality. He goes down the lane. Or somebody's going to launch it. It's going to be Panitka. Good. That's a wonderful move. Oh my God!
He's everywhere.
He knows where the journey ends for the Czech Republic.
Bogdanovic just pulls up, throws the three. Francisco Cruz pulls up. It's good. Salah Mejri, look at him. Just look what it means to them.
Up and throws it down.
Now that is some great footage that should have everyone excited for the upcoming tournaments, and we sure are excited. Mr. Bogosaulio, can I invite you back to the stage? Because we are almost ready to do the men's FIBA qualifying tournaments draw. But first, what do you say? Let's take a look at the draw procedures for the men's draw.
"24 teams have qualified to participate in the men's FIBA Olympic qualifying tournaments in June 2020. The 24 teams have been distributed into 6 pots of 4 teams each, based on the FIBA Men's World Ranking presented by Nike. Each tournament will host 2 groups of 3 teams, A and B. In order to balance the quality of the tournaments and their respective groups, pots 1, 4 and 5 will feed groups A. And pots 2, 3 and 6 will feed groups B of each tournament. There will be 8 additional pots containing numbers 1 to 3 for Group A and Group B of each tournament. These numbers will determine the position of each team within their group and the order of games. The teams from the host countries will be placed in the respective groups. After a team is drawn into a group, its position from 1 to 3 will also be drawn. To equally spread teams from the same continent across the different groups, teams will be drawn and placed in the first available group following the host city's alphabetical order. The available groups will be determined by the draw software. Pot 1 will be the first one drawn, filling in the remaining 2 spots in Groups A for Greece and Russia. Pot 2 will feed all Groups B with a straight draw. Pot 3 will also feed all Groups B. To balance geographical principles, Puerto Rico cannot be drawn in the same group as Brazil. Pot 4 will feed all Groups A. To balance geographical principles and to avoid having more than 3 European teams in one group, Germany will have to be drawn in the same venue, which already includes a team from the Americas. Pot 5 will also feed all Groups A. To balance geographical principles, Mexico cannot be drawn in groups already including another team from the Americas. Pot 6 will feed all Groups B. To balance geographical principles, Uruguay cannot be drawn in the same group as another team from the Americas. The draw for the FIBA Olympic Qualifying Tournaments 2020 is completed when all teams are drawn in each group with their group number assigned.
On hand to help Mr. Bogosaulio with the draw, as you may presume, we have another distinguished guest, Mr. Jorge Garbajosa. He is the current president of the Spanish Basketball Federation, but as a player, he really has a long list of achievements, including 3 Olympic Games appearances, finishing at Beijing where he earned the silver medal. We are very pleased to have you here so that you can tell us about stepping on the court for the final game against USA. Of course, the final score wasn't according to your wishes, but otherwise, what would you say?
Well, first of all, thank you to invite me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Second one, as Stoico said before, represent your country in Olympic Games is just a huge honor. Can you imagine to get to the final? The day before the final, the day of the final, you are very excited. It's a dream. It's a dream coming true. You have been working for it for the whole your life, and arrive the momentum just to try to have fun, to enjoy it, and try to get the gold medal. It's a huge honor for yourself and for your team and for your country.
Thank you, Mr. Garbarjosa. We are very excited to have you here. That side will be yours. And on the other side, I would like to ask Swiss national team player, Miss Emma Chardon, to join us at the stage.
Welcome.
Coming from the back, surprising me. So now, I think everything is ready, and I can move away from the stage.
Thank you. So you can see this draw is a bit more complicated because there are more balls on the tables. But the principle is exactly the same as I mentioned before the women's draw. So again, once we draw the team, we'll allocate the team to the highlighted group, the first one according to the alphabetic order, and then we will continue by drawing the competition number, which determines order of the games. So I think we are ready to start. In case of men tournaments, our hosts are not in the same pot, so we will start with the hosts of the tournaments. First one.
Serbia.
Serbia, as the first host from the pot 1, will fill Group A in Belgrade.
Serbia finished second at the Rio Olympics and FIBA Eurobasket 2017 and fifth at the recent FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Serbia. The next host is
Lithuania.
Lithuania, also from the pot 1, filling in the Group A in Kaunas.
Lithuania have played at every Olympics since 1992. They finished 9th at the recent FIBA Basketball World Cup in China.
The number for Lithuania.
Number 1.
Number 1. The third host is coming from the pot 3, Croatia. Croatia will play in the Group B, as the pot 3 is filling the Group B in Split.
Croatia won the 2016 Olympic qualifying tournament in Turin to reach the Olympic Games and then made it to the quarterfinals at the event in Brazil.
Number 2.
Number 2 for Croatia. And the last host?
Canada.
The last host is Canada, coming from the pot 4. That means filling in the Group A in Victoria.
Canada played in the final of the 2016 FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament in Manila. They have appeared in 9 Olympic Games and finished 3rd at the 2015 FIBA AmeriCup.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Canada. Now we will continue the draw with the remaining teams from the pot 1.
Russia.
Russia. Russia will play in Group A in Split.
Russia reached the semi-finals at FIBA Eurobasket 2017. They won the bronze medal at the London 2012 Olympic Games.
The number for Russia is?
Number 2.
Number 2 for Russia. And the last team from the pot 1?
Greece.
Greece will play in Group A in Victoria.
Greece were quarterfinalists at the FIBA Eurobasket in 2017. They finished 5th at the Olympics in 2008, but have not played in an Olympic Games since then.
Number 1.
With the competition number 1. Moving to the pot 2. Pot 2 will fill in the groups B across all 4 host cities.
Italy.
Italy going to Group B in Belgrade.
Italy reached the quarterfinals of the FIBA Eurobasket 2 years ago. They finished 10th at this year's World Cup.
With the competition number?
Number 2.
Number 2. Next team.
Poland.
Poland will play in Group B in Kaunas.
Poland were recently quarterfinalists at their first FIBA Basketball World Cup in more than half a century. They last featured at the Olympics and the 1980 Moscow Games.
Number 1.
Number 1, competition number for Poland.
Brazil.
Brazil will play in Group B in Split.
Brazil played at the last 2 Olympics and won gold at the 2015 Pan American Games.
With the competition number?
Number 3.
Number 2.
3.
3, sorry. Number 3. And the last team from the pot 2?
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic goes to Group B in Victoria.
The Czech Republic played at the 2016 Olympic qualifying tournament in Serbia. They finished 6th at the FIBA Basketball World Cup in China.
Number 2.
Number 2 for Czech Republic. Moving to the pot 3, where we still have 3 remaining teams. Filling in the Groups B.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico will play in Group B in Belgrade.
Puerto Rico played in the last 3 Olympic qualifying tournaments. They last played in the 2004 Olympic Games and finished 6th.
Number 1.
Number 1 for Puerto Rico. The next one.
Wow. Slovenia.
Slovenia will play in Group B in Kaunas.
Slovenia won the FIBA Eurobasket 2 years ago and are targeting their first Olympic berth.
Number 2.
With the competition number 2. The last team from the pot 3.
Turkey.
Turkey will play in Group B in Victoria.
Turkey played at the 2016 Olympic qualifying tournament in Manila. They have not played at the Olympic Games since 1952. They finished 2nd at the FIBA Basketball World Cup in 2010.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Turkey. We are moving to the pot 4. 3 remaining teams there, filling in Groups A.
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic will play in Group A in Belgrade.
The Dominican Republic played at 2012 Olympic qualifying tournament in Venezuela and also at the last 2 FIBA Basketball World Cups. They have never played in an Olympic Games tournament.
Number 1.
Number 1 for Dominican Republic. The next team from the pot 4.
Germany.
Germany will play in a Group A in Split.
Germany were quarterfinalists at the FIBA Eurobasket 2 years ago and their last Olympic appearance was in 2008.
Number 1.
Number 1 for Germany. last team from the pot 4.
Venezuela.
Venezuela obviously goes to the Group A in Kaunas.
Venezuela won the FIBA AmeriCup in 2015 and have played in 2 Olympic Games, the most recently in Rio.
Number 3.
With number 3. Moving to the pot 5. Still filling in the groups A across 4 host cities.
New Zealand.
New Zealand will play in Group A in Belgrade.
New Zealand played in the last FIBA Olympic qualifying tournaments and have 2 Olympic Games appearances in 2000 and 2004.
Number 2.
With the competition number 2. Next team from the pot 5.
Korea.
Korea. Korea will play in Group A in Kaunas.
Korea were 3rd at the last FIBA Asia Cup in 2017. They have not played at the Olympic Games since 1996.
Number 2.
With the number 2. And last 2 teams from the pot 5.
Mexico.
Mexico will play in a Group A in Split.
Mexico featured at the 2016 Olympic qualifying tournament in Turin and in 2017 were 3rd at the FIBA AmeriCup.
Number 3.
With the number 3, the last team from the pot 5.
China.
China. And China will play in Group A in Victoria.
China have appeared at the last 9 Olympics and this summer played as the host nation of the FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Number 2.
With number 2. Coming to the last pot, pot 6, filling the remaining spots in the groups B.
Senegal.
Senegal will play in Group B in Belgrade.
Senegal were 3rd at the FIBA Afrobasket in 2017. The last Olympic Games they played, it was in 1980.
Number 3.
Number 3. Next one.
Angola.
Angola. Group B in Kaunas.
Angola played at the Olympic qualifying tournaments in 2012 and 2016. They are 11-time Afrobasket champions.
Number 3.
Number 3. Last 2 teams again.
Tunisia.
Tunisia will play in a Group B in Split.
Tunisia won the Afrobasket in 2017. They have not appeared at the Olympic Games since 2012.
Number 1.
With the number 1. And the last team for today's draw.
Uruguay.
Uruguay, the only possibility. Group B in Victoria.
Uruguay were 6th at the FIBA AmeriCup in 2017. The last time they played at an Olympics was in 1984, finishing 6th.
Number 1.
With the number 1, so no surprises. Thank you very much. The draw is complete.
Thank you, Mr. Garbajosa. Thank you, Ms. Emma, and of course our Master of Ceremony, Mr. Bogosaulio. So, the draw is now complete. I hope you are satisfied as it is possible, and let's see how these 4 tournaments of 24 teams shape up. In Belgrade, in Group A, we have Dominican Republic, New Zealand, and Serbia, and in Group B, Puerto Rico, Italy, and Senegal. In Kaunas, Lithuania, in Group A, we have Lithuania, Korea, and Venezuela, and in Group B, Poland, Slovenia, and Angola. In Split, Croatia, Group A, Germany, Russia, and Mexico. In Group B, Tunisia, Croatia, and Brazil. And finally, Group in Canada, Victoria, Group A, Greece, China, and Canada, and Group B, Uruguay, Czech Republic, and Turkey. So this includes the draw ceremony. Thank you all for joining us today, either here at Patrick Baumann's House of Basketball or anywhere around the world. I know that the year 2020 will be an exciting year for basketball. Thank you very much for being here with us today.